Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. In today's episode of the ongoing coverage of the civil war taking place inside of the former state of Ethiopia, we can report that the Tigray Defense Forces continue to advance on all fronts. I say again, here are the facts. This is rumor control. Again, the Tigray Defense Forces continue to advance on all fronts. The only areas where the current advance appears to be slower than some of the other advances that are taking place around the former state of Ethiopia is in the Afar region. And again, the terrain, the desert-like environments of the Afar region are quite a bit different than the terrain that we've seen in other parts of the combat zone where the TDF has been more successful. I'd also like to address one other issue, that of the operations or the alleged operations by Amhara regional militias within the vicinity of Kobo. To our understanding, the intel that we're receiving, this is more or less, again, more or less, banditry type operations by bandit groups. So let me try to explain here a little bit. So over the course of this conflict, the Amhara regional government raised many different types of militia groups, including accepting known criminal entities as these so-called militia groups. Some obviously belong to Fano, others belong to other smaller groups. But at the end of the day, many of these groups are simply criminal gangs that are looking to take opportunistic advantage of what is happening. And in the case of the areas near Kobo and some of the other areas around Weldia, yes, there are definite bandit operations taking place, as well as in other areas around the country as well, meaning the former state of Ethiopia. So again, when you see a breakdown, and when I identify Ethiopia as the former state of Ethiopia, that is what I am trying to explain. Law enforcement functions really no longer exist, and if you were the head of a criminal gang who wanted to identify itself as some sort of paramilitary organization, and you could do that. And that is what is happening, unfortunately, for the local populace. We are seeing criminal gangs popping up and taking advantage of what is occurring. And we do know, quite possibly, one of these criminal elements of banditry is operating near the town of Kobo. It does not appear to be a very organized group of fighters looking to retake the city of Kobo. If you look at the strategic situation around Kobo, again, to the west, the TDF is in firm control. To the east, TDF is in firm control. To the south and to the north, it's the status quo. So again, any idea that a small force would be able to retake Kobo and cut off the so-called supply line from the southern Tigray region south towards the main battle lines is simply ridiculous. So again, that is the facts, and this is rumor control. Another area of interest that we have picked up at the Military and Foreign Affairs Network is that Turkey obviously has been supplying, possibly has been supplying a few drones to the Abiy loyalists, the federal government of Ethiopia. And we have also received reports that have filtered in that optics have also been supplied by the Turkish government to the Abiy loyalists, the federal forces fighting against the various groups that are now allied against it in this conflict. Now, the problem with that information in regards to the idea that Turkey is supplying optronics to the Abiy loyalists, the federal government, is that the Turks were cut off by L3 Harris out of Canada, which is one of their largest suppliers for advanced optronics that go into systems such as their TB2 drone. So the TB2 drone is great because, one, it uses Austrian engines to power such a small device, and then two, it also utilizes some advanced optronics, such as those from L3 Harris, who are no longer providing those optronics to the Turkish government. So the Turkish government is having to turn to a German optronics manufacturer or its own indigenous optronics manufacturers. Now, the problem with that is the resolution is not as great, is not as good. The clarity of the thermal imaging sight, the optic, is not as good as what is on the Harris, the L3 Harris optic, and it's also much heavier. So we believe that the Asilon optic is roughly 40 pounds heavier than the L3 Harris optic that is being used. So again, is it possible that the Turkish government is supplying these heavier, less resolution optronic systems to the Ethiopian government? Yes, I guess that is possible, but again, what are they putting these systems on then? So it's really hard to make sense of that report that was received. Again, the Turks make some really good stuff. Obviously, the TB2 drone is a good system, but what makes it a good system is some of those other systems that the Turks have to import. One, L3 Harris, the optronics. When you see those that gun camera footage where they're blowing up all those Armenian positions and tanks, that is a L3 Harris optronic system. And again, they also use the Austrian engines to make it fly as well. Now, in other news, the Tigrayan Defense Forces continue to advance on many areas. As you can see here on my map, they're progressing along two key fronts, south and southwest of Kombolcha. They have seized control of this town, Wierilu, and are now also continuing to progress towards and are operating very near Shia Robert and Debre Sina at this time. So this map has not been fully updated as of yet. We believe that the TDF and its Oromo Liberation Army allies have proceeded all the way south of Kombolcha and are now operating very close to Shia Robert, possibly with even forces operating very close to Debre Sina, and this advance right here appears to be focused on possibly seizing Debre Burhan. But again, I believe once we can confirm that Debre Sina has been taken by the Tigrayan Defense Forces, and again, I'd mentioned some key terrain features near Debre Sina that was pivotal, possibly to the defense that could be mounted by the Amhara militias, by the Abiy loyalists. Once that is overcome and we can confirm that areas just west of Debre Sina have been taken, I would suspect it could become more easier for the TDF to continue its advance south towards Addis Ababa and then obviously Debre Burhan itself. But again, we're seeing advances really all over the combat zone. We're seeing advances south of Wagaltina. We're seeing west of Desse. We've seen the town of Ajibar has been taken. Forces of the Tigrayan Defense Forces are moving west from Gashina towards Nefes Micha and other areas as well. But again, the Ethiopian federal forces have, again, and I've talked about this in earlier videos, have really fallen apart. There is no at this time, real organized command structure that we are aware of at this point. The conflict is really being taken over by the Amhara, by these regional militias that are now popping up in the Amhara region, and obviously a heavy recruitment of various militias go on in Addis Ababa as well. The continued persecution of those from the Tigray region who happen to live in Addis Ababa, own businesses in Addis Ababa, continues as we speak. They continue to round up those folks and put them in what we believe are in all likelihood concentration camps. We have seen political leadership in the Amhara region, specifically near Gondar and Bihar Dar, requesting that all peoples of Tigray be taken and put in concentration camps. And that video footage exists and has been played at a rally. So again, some very draconian steps appear to be taken by the Abiy loyalists and the Amhara regional militias. But again, um, uh, just the big synopsis for the day, the Tigrayan Defense Forces continue to advance really on all fronts. We're now talking about the TDF operating well over 100 miles deep inside of the Amhara region, and they continue to advance again along all fronts. We will obviously have more information as we get it. Things are happening very quickly right now. And again, as we get this information, we will certainly make a new video and report it to everyone. Have a great Sunday, everybody.